II. Early 1944. The tide is turning against Germany. The Americans are making their way up Italy, pushing the mighty Reich back. There's only one way out: the Brenner Pass. The main supply route in and out of northern Italy, and also the only route Wehrmacht troops can use to retreat back to Germany. Cut off this artery, and you cut off 1 million troops, putting a major dent in Germany's ability to defend its motherland. Already in the U.S. infantry, Steven Hall was eager to make a difference in the war. Hall wanted to do more than wait for the invasion of Europe, namely, blow up the Brenner Pass. Understanding there was only one organization with the capability to undertake such a bold mission, Hall crafted a letter to the OSS.
I understand the area around Cortina is becoming increasingly important strategically. The German army in Italy needs it as their back door as they are forced out of Italy. I'm sure you have addressed the importance of blocking the Brenner Pass. With all respect to your organization, it would be difficult to find the right agent. The land is difficult to navigate, forcing most agents to use existing roads in towns that, of course, are occupied by German troops. For acts of sabotage to be carried out successfully, your agents need to know how to use the mountain terrain to their advantage, especially when they are likely to go up against German Alpine troops. I would be willing to do the job and think I could. Here are my qualifications. Trained in military demolitions, mapping, reconnaissance. Skilled in rock and snow climbing with 15 years experience on the cliffs and snow in Cortina, Italy. Expert rifle and pistol shot. Accustomed to living in open under all conditions. Unmarried, 28 years of age, ready to go at any time, under any circumstance that augurs success. Cordially yours, R.S.G. Hall.
On the merit of his letter, Hall gets a meeting with the famous Wild Bill Donovan, head of the OSS. Within weeks, he is trained and sent to northern Italy to sabotage the Brenner Pass. Hall arrives successfully behind enemy lines only miles from Cortina, the northern German base for thousands of troops. Not able to use roads or towns, he begins to organize local partisans in the mountains. For days at a time, Hall did all of his traveling by hiking and mountaineering the snow-capped peaks. To gain practice, Hall and his band targeted unguarded bridges that were important communications and supply routes linked to the famous pass. On one such mission, they blew up a bridge near Tolmezzo. Successful, they did it to another bridge several miles down the road days later. However, German Alpine troops were on the lookout, and after each act of sabotage, hunted for Hall and his men, tracking them, but always losing them. In a letter to his parents, Hall spoke of life on the run.
You don't need to worry. We're getting to be old hands at the art of running in under the Nazi's nose and blowing the shoestrings out of his boots before he knows what happened.
As the war progressed into its final days, the Wehrmacht became increasingly ruthless in how it handled guerrilla activity. Hitler issued a new directive called the Commando Order, that any agents or commandos caught behind enemy lines were not to be taken prisoner, but executed immediately. Empowered by Hitler's new directive, the local SS commander, Major August Schiffer, experienced in police work and counterinsurgency, aggressively sought out those responsible for the string of guerrilla activity. Schiffer's team worked quickly, instituting checkpoints and surprise visits on suspected resistance hideouts. These efforts resulted in several partisans being rounded up, including one member of Hall's team who was stopped in his truck carrying hidden explosives. Using the damning evidence as leverage, Schiffer threatened the individual with torture. Tell gave up everything Schiffer wanted to know. The Brenner Pass mission was dead. Meanwhile, Hall was not unaware of Tell's capture. In his final correspondence with HQ, he alerted his superiors. Excerpt from CIA archive. From Hall to OSS HQ, December 10, 1944.
Tell captured. Torture threat made him Nazi agent. Has told all and turned in 20 of my men. Believed in Candide area helping Nazi patrols. Alert all agents. Kill on sight.
In response, and unfortunately without Hall's knowledge, the OSS prepared a team to drop in and help Hall resume his mission. On the run, Hall lived in the mountains, sleeping outside in the snow. His condition worsening, but his resolve intact. He set off to carry out his sabotage of the Brenner Pass, alone with what little explosives he had left. Excerpt from final letter to his parents.
I've seen more gorgeous scenery than 3 men will in a lifetime. Sunrises and sunsets among peaks, moonlight shimmering on glaciers, storms swirling around tremendous pillars of rock. But the threat never leaves you, asleep or awake, of being hunted.
Caught in a snowstorm, Hall collapsed and on the verge of death was found by a minister who brought him back to his church. What happened next in the mind of that man is difficult to say. Whatever it was led him to do the unthinkable, turn Hall over to the Gestapo. At this point in the war, the Germans had begun to retreat out of Italy back to Germany, and in many cases POWs were released through negotiations with the Allies in return for protection. To Hall's grand misfortune, he fell into the hands of men who ignored the writing on the wall, men like SS Major August Schiffer. In spite of his army's changing fortune and the obvious value in keeping Hall alive, Schiffer showed no latitude and tortured Hall to death. By this point, the OSS team sent to help Hall had landed, and little did Schroeder and Schiffer know that they would soon meet their match in Howard Chappell of the OSS. To be continued.